Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice Radio. So today, I've got an exciting new supporter to share with you, and it does seem like it's a pretty nice supporter card, which is lovely. But there's actually a couple of other things about the card we need to talk about first, because in a couple of ways, this is pretty gosh darned important. Now, it's Café Master, which we'll get to in a moment. That is a trainer class in Sword and Shield. But it's from VMAX Climax. It is from Sword and Shield 8 over in Japan, which is extremely important. Because I showed you when they did the initial reveal of this set. And of course, the hook of the set is those character rares with things like that wonderful Flaffy with Elisa. And then obviously the Pikachu VMAX, which is very much the, very much the headliner that we've seen so far. And then the other day I showed you that they were reprinting stuff like Crobat, just a straight reprint, and that Japan was getting alternate art pre-release promos that we've gotten previously that they haven't. But one of the things I told you in that video was that as it stands at the moment, there are no new cards in VMAX Climax. We had had the actual set reveal, and we had then had an update reveal, and for both of those put together, we had not seen a single new card. Well, the good news here, ladies and gentlemen, is that we absolutely do have a new card. Café Master is a brand new, never-before-seen card, which is making its debut in this particular set. And that means that there's gonna be more. And that's the most important thing here, right? That's what I think we need to all get a bit excited about. Even if you're not excited about this card, and I do think this is a good card in the right kind of deck. But even if you're not excited about this kind of thing, that doesn't really matter. That's not really terribly important. What is terribly important is that VMAX Climax is going to have new cards in it. And hopefully, this is just the first of many. Although I do need to warn you all at this stage, don't forget that the precursor to this, the last of the high-class packs, was Shiny Star V, which essentially came through as Shining Fates over here. And the thing is that although there were new cards, they were, shall we say, few and far between. So if we use the English scan from Shining Fates, that's going to be a little bit more relevant here. We could see that we had things like that new Rotom. And that Rotom was kind of nice. It was alright. Snom was new, which was quite nice. But it wasn't exactly a set that was overflowing with new cards, I think is a fair thing to say. I mean, Ball Guy was a new supporter card that came in that particular set. So there were a couple of individual cards that came as new. So yes, this does confirm there are new cards in Sword and Shield 8B, that being VMAX Climax, because this is a new card from Sword and Shield 8B. However, it unfortunately does not confirm it's going to be a proper suite of new cards like we would expect from a normal set, because it could just be that there are literally like half a dozen new ones, so take it with a pinch of salt. The other cool thing is, of course, and there is absolutely no way whatsoever that this is a coincidence, but it's interesting to note that Café Master has gone and been revealed on the 28th of October, and you know what's good about the 28th of October? Pokémon Café Remix, ladies and gentlemen. Pokémon Café Remix launches today, and as a man who has put well over 100 hours into 2 different files of Pokémon Café Mix, I am excited. Although I got a new iPad, and I could not transfer the file from one iPad to the other, which has genuinely made me actually sad. So now I'm no longer playing on my iPad, I'm just playing on my Switch. The good news is I got all of the old levels done ready. I am ready, ladies and gentlemen, for Pokemon Cafe Remix. I am ready. And having a new TCG card, yeah, Sounds good. And let's be clear, this is not a coincidence. This isn't a card that ties into Pokémon Café Remix, although I wouldn't be surprised if somebody in the Pokémon company didn't head over to the TCG department and be like, hey dude, reckon you could get something ready for when Café Remix launches? But it's not an explicit, it's not like that Arceus V card I showed you, which literally has artwork from and the logo of Legends Arceus on the card. It's not like that. However, it's still, the fact that it's being released today or revealed today, that is in no way, shape or form a coincidence. Somebody planned it this way, and I, for one, am delighted. And I'm totally carving out some time this evening to have a good old play on Pokémon Café Remix. So, with all of that out of the way, and this is important stuff, what can we say about the card itself? Well, in order to translate, this actually comes from me, alright? I did this. I didn't do it completely by myself. I actually got a surprisingly good amount of the way through this before I gave up and used Google Translate to fill in the gaps. I don't feel great about myself. I wish I hadn't used Google Translate at all, but I got a good way through before I started using Google Translate, so I don't feel too bad about this. So with all of that borne in mind then, what does it do? Well, and I should say this was confirmed by FireboyZX4Y on Twitter. Thank you very much for that. So what it actually does is it ends your turn when you play it, and then you search for your deck for 3 different kinds of basic energy and attach each of them to a different benched Pokemon, which of course is thematically appropriate because remember that the Café Masters in the game don't all use one type. They do switch between typings when you go to different Café Masters, so I appreciate this very much. Is this any good? I mean, look, it's an early game kind of thing. A card ending your turn does not have to be a problem. Kiawe was great, and Kiawe is honestly a pretty good parallel here. Kiawe was great, and that ended your turn. Kiawe let you search your deck for 4 fire energy and attach them to one of your Pokemon. And this is a similar thing. It gets multiple energy out of your deck, and that is important because in your hand you've got to actually draw into them. From the discard you've got to actually discard them. The fact that you are attaching from your deck is a big deal here, and I love it. However, it ends your turn. So like Kiawe, it is an emergency mid-game, I've got nothing kind of supporter, or it's an early game kind of thing. But even then, it really depends on the kind of deck you're playing. Another card this really reminds me of is Arceus Prism Star. Because Arceus Prism Star, you had to have a Lightning Pokemon and a Grass Pokemon and a Water Pokemon all in play at the same time. But then you could search your deck for 3 basic energy and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. It really rewarded you for playing a multicolored deck. And that's the case here. If you're playing a deck that does or can use different kinds of basic energy, this is a brilliant, brilliant turn 1 option. Because you're getting free energy out of your deck turn 1, that is really going to set you up for the game. But if you're not, then this is a little bit of a problem. In a colorless deck, yeah, go for it, go nuts. But I do feel like there are going to be too few decks that want to play this. I see this very much like Arceus Prism Star in that there were a couple of decks where that card was nutty good. But your average deck wasn't going to play it. Your average deck isn't going to play this because it's 3 different kinds of basic energy, and that's a little bit of a problem. But there are going to be some decks that do play different kinds of basic energy, and they are going to have an absolute field day here because, they're going to start off and they're going to attach for the turn, and it doesn't have to be to their active, because seriously, attaching an energy to your active and then leaving it there to get KO'd can actually be really annoying. So if you can attach an energy wherever you like, and then play this to get 3 more energy, and it's turn 1 and you can't attack, and you've ended the turn with 4 energy on the field, yes. But also obviously no, and that brings me to another point which I want to address here. This would have been so much better pre-supporter rule change. Because remember, we have the rule nowadays whereby when you go first on your first turn of the game, you ain't allowed to play a supporter card. And that's a little bit of a problem. because that is when this really shines. Turn 1, when you're not allowed to attack anyway, that's where we want to go, ladies and gentlemen. That's where this really shines. But now, unfortunately, you're not able to play this turn 1 going first when you wouldn't be allowed to attack anyway, because you can't use a supporter turn 1 going first. And that's kind of rubbish, honestly, ladies and gentlemen. That's kind of rubbish. I still think there's reason to play this turn 1 going second. I still think there are going to be turns where you just need to reload, and you can play this. Maybe you have something like a Snorlax in the active to let you draw until you got 7 cards in your hand after having done this. You know, this is really good as a reloading kind of card. And I think in that regard it could be good, but I do not think it is necessarily always going to work. I think it's a cool card. I think there is absolute potential. I think some decks are going to love it. I do not, however, think it's going to work in every deck, or even necessarily the majority of decks. But it's really good when it does work, so let's give it between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies. That would be barbaric. Certainly reasons to love this, but the fact that it's different basic energy is really going to stop it from ever being a proper staple card. That's what I think, but I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWazzy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.